morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unc and Market Monk.
Morning, P. How's your week?
It was good. Just a lot of continuation. Just finding some things I didn't really expect. You Amy was a big one for me. Just
Random.
monster move. Just when I saw the stuff going on with the rare metals, didn't even have flow on it, but just one I was familiar with. So yeah, that worked well. A lot of continuation on earnings, a lot of mid candle recoveries that we hit that just kept going. So just been looking for those stocks. Really, for me, the setup's been if they do fall on earnings, just that rebound is ferocious and fast, especially in software. So Workday and a couple others like that. Just staying on those. So it's been fun.
Yeah, household's still doing good. Just check the SoFi Square Index. Um,
Yeah.
Actually broke 100 up there. Docu too. Appreciate that read. You kept me in Docu from. I didn't have a bunch, but I bought it at 57, and we reread it a couple weeks ago. And um, man, the top of the channel reads. You still bat 80-90% on those. So. And the secondary move was monster there. Groupon off to a good start already. If you like 30-40%. Um, and then this the stuff we kind of like been talking about for months. I mean, Rigetti had a great week.
Yeah.
Rumble had a nice little move there, and then all the AI names slowly starting to take off. So yeah, great week. I mean, I don't know how long ago it was, but time is your friend, and I mean, when I have time, I don't know about y'all, but I like to golf. So um,
Yeah.
I'm in a weird spot right now because it's December, and I would love to go play 2 or 3 times a week and just let my positions marinate. Um, but I'm only getting about one in, so still the thesis for me. I don't know if you're seeing a big change this month or anything, but just give yourself a little bit of time, and you're gonna be fine in a lot of this. The direction right now is just so overwhelming. Um, the broadening's organic. Um, yeah. So I mean, I just like where we are. It's not necessarily hard to miss, um, especially if you have a process like we do where you tend to try to be early. But it's real hard to miss right now. It just really is.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think for me, and this happened with it happened with semiconductors. Finding that moment where I had been pretty bearish on them um, because of what was happening in the equipment stocks and Lam Research and ASML and things like that. So I felt like we were going to get a um, a pullback on those. But the thing is, I wasn't like expecting like AVGO is the one I read, and I'm like, it's not going to come back to 122, which is where I had it. So it's like where are we going to turn this thing around? And it was in the 160s. I started to see things flip around, and I put it in there on Monday. Monster Week hit 180, which was kind of my target for January, really. And just it happens fast, and software, really flips. I think we had the advantage with SaaS this time that Snow was kind of the barometer, and it's one that we have such great levels on and such experience with that it's just you can see in reading that report, this probably isn't an isolated thing. They're figuring out the rhetoric of AI for software. It came first in hardware and semiconductors and all that, and now it's like the people buying all that shit like are talking about what it's going to do for them, and it's why Workday took off. It's why Snow took off. It's why Docu took off. And just rattled them all off, and then the companies that didn't really do anything, but they just exist, but they're adjacent to those MDB and people like that. They start to take off too, and you find the ones that we have a read on, and you catch those. Or ideally, you just mentioned Docu, you already still have some of that, so you're
Hmm.
pretty low risk for for a move like this. You're already parked there, and that's that's I think what you really want. Real quick on you mentioned Rigetti. What's your perception of all of a sudden everyone's catching on to quantum computing
I
and
use
the difference in that methodology compared to what we were doing?
I use Twitter so I know when to get out of trades.
Yeah,
It's not a
right. Yeah,
joke. It's not a joke.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not a
yeah,
punchline. It's something you should write down. Have you been
yeah,
bagged before? Do you get bagged regularly? Do you believe or
yeah,
kind of buy into the hype on Twitter? 1 + 1 = 2. There you go. I mean, that's the whole thing. You're going to have a lot of people there trying to scout moves. It's going to get washy. Might have more volume. Might have a good day or two, but way more less stressful when we're begging people. Even members of our room, what up, secondary, are begging
yeah,
people to buy it at $1.40. I mean,
yeah,
just begging people, please buy the stock. I mean, yeah. So for me, that's when I like um, that one's. I mean, that one's a little different. I mean, again, we're in the dollar range on that guy. So you just move the stop loss up to where you really see the trend change, or where you see, all right, bag holders above now are going to be a problem, even if we do get back there. So let's just move on to
yeah,
something else. And the not to like jump around if you do want to stay there, but the docu thing, um, I kind of got lucky on docu because I was so convinced that we're getting to the A's and the B's, or the B's and the C names, and I just didn't have
yeah,
anything else to trade. Right, like I was in Square, I was in all the good stuff I like. Got some PayPal, got my Redfin, I got all the stuff I like. I got the Apple Teslas. Been taken care of for a while. Don't need more of that up here. So I was looking for like, what else am I gonna get into, and I asked probably 4 or 5 times, and there's just no flow. But if you have a level, that's going to be great when the flow comes in. And we've seen that a few times. But it was just kind of lucking out on that I needed a name, And it's like, man,
yeah, yeah,
this name's going to be good. And I did better here than I did with Zoom, because that was another one. Flow was a little better there. But yeah, I really do think there's a good mix of those B names, like what a good way to say it too is like industry names. Like if you talk to a computer guy, he's going to know
yeah.
CrowdStrike and Square and Salesforce and all that, right? Not a 10 on the 10 on
Right,
the
right.
street name necessarily. So, yeah, I'm definitely happy that it's happened, but still, like the IPO list I mentioned a few weeks ago, I think that thing is primed, because that it's software. It's easy to see the thesis because we're in it. Like they make a product, it's developed, right? They kind of have to update it, but the money's kind of in there. Now they just have to sell it or sell subscriptions or have whatever their model is. So when that
Yeah,
does come in, it's a lot of profit. The AI FUD, or the AI realization, people's instant reaction was like, we don't need CrowdStrike anymore. The AI will do cybersecurity. We don't need Adobe anymore. AI will do the spreadsheets, and that's just not the
yeah,
case. That's just not the case. Now it's like, which of these softwares is going to be compatible with AI right now? Which one's going to work with it right now? And so I think that's the comeback, or the rebound, or the short term market euphoria, or the divergence we're going to see fixed in that sector. So, but you were on it 2 months ago, and I just hadn't really figured out why. Now it kind of makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Now it kind of makes
Right, right.
sense.
Yeah, and on being late and chasing it, it's not in the era of like options and flow and stuff. It's not the penny stocks. It's not just those. I mean, I'm seeing like people talking about Microsoft, dark pool buyers and shit like that. When it's up here over 440, that
Hmm.
dip under 420, that was it. Like that was it. And I posted that I think it was a Friday that that it happened.
Video something.
And I mean, just like ferocious rebound over 420, follow through all week. And it's probably my one of my favorite stocks. Probably Eli Lilly's probably my favorite, but I can't buy Microsoft up here really. I mean, I get I guess you could DCA it forever and you're
Yeah,
probably
you buy
fine,
off the
but
50. You just buy off the 50.
yeah, but I mean, it's as far
Better than
as a
50.
trade, like you want to trade Microsoft. I don't think you trade it over 440. I think you under that. that 420, that was the spot to do it. You're just really amplifying, your risk, and the risk with Microsoft isn't in the option world is not that it's going to tank, it's that it's going to go up 0.3%, and it's just not enough for you. So yeah, I see a lot of that. I mean, just people are late, and I don't really know what their methodology is, other than something makes a pretty dramatic move, they notice that, and then it's like, I want a piece of this, and I'm gonna hype it up to people.
Yeah, I go a little against the grain on Microsoft. Like I talk about it on Spy. Like the 50 touches need to happen. And Charlie, I think it was
Yeah,
Charlie. I don't think it was Warren. I think it was Charlie that said, them old Berkshire boys, that said, if you have time and you just buy on the 200, you're never gonna lose. Like good
right.
companies, good companies, you're never gonna lose.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
if you I got the 10-year up on Microsoft, it's touched the 200 like once in 10 years. So
Right, right.
buying off the 50 isn't bad, at all. It always seems reasonably or overpriced. And the same goes with Apple. Same probably said with Amazon. They're just those names. If you don't own them, you should get a piece, and it's more
Yeah.
about when you get the piece as opposed to what you're paying for it. But
Well,
50,
right.
50 for me, I mean, if just looking at this chart real quick, I mean, if you bought it off the 50, still you're okay. And that was that 420 you were talking about. For me, it's interesting that we're getting that high consolidation on that chart, but that's a different chat.
Yeah, it is, and I'm talking specifically about the option
Oh,
world, because
sure.
that's why they're talking about it. I think it could get quiet again for a while, and that just kills options. So and you can't even really, and the problem with that, you can't even really
Yeah, but
hedge it. Like,
have you ever thought this might blow your mind, P? But those kids need those options to die so they can afford them. So
oh, right,
when
that's
they
true.
get
Yeah,
weeklies that wash around that end up like hurting on Thursday, they can finally fucking afford them.
yeah, and that's when you try to buy a $20
Yes, on your alert.
Microsoft contract, and
Yes.
then turn it into 80, but it doesn't
400,
make it
no,
there. And so
400%.
yeah, right, yeah,
Not $80, sir. It's 400%. We use the bigger number
right.
around here. God. Yeah, but I think that's something that might be. I mean, I don't know. I don't fucking trade options, but when you get those consolidation charts on bigger names, that's probably why they're active. Is because those are getting
Yeah,
Thea,
Lotto
Decayed,
Friday.
IV
Lotto
Crush.
Friday.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So software, is that, do you see that as just a couple quarters, or are we just gonna separate winners from losers?
Oh, I think we separate winners from losers. When I look at what's going on in leaps,
Yeah, okay, that's all I
like
have to
we're yeah,
say.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So like I look at like I can pretty much tell you the winner is Workday.
Never heard of it.
And that that is, very plausibly going to like $400 by the end of next year.
Nice.
And I don't put like targets out there like that, but that's what they're set up for it to do. My line on it, I have a couple. 205 is a big one. Didn't get back there on this, on this pullback. So earnings was like a perfect spot to sort of position for me there. Caught the puts on it, and then I kept a call that, I was talking to secondary about this. I'm like, this call that is just left for dead for January. Not so dead anymore. I mean, it popped 9% after hours on Friday, so kind of back in it on that. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, ones like that. No position to me, possibly to break out to where it was before it had its big drop, up in the mid to upper 200s, 300s, something like that. So yeah, I see a path to that. I think they've kind of figured things out. They have their staffing where, kind of where it should be. They were all, they had way too many employees. DocuSign was like the poster child for that, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was pointing that out on Twitter, and so they got more lean, and to me, I mean, I'm an English professor. I study rhetoric a lot. The way that they talk about their future and how AI fits into that, I think they're figuring out how to do that, and that is as important as the actual results, because that rhetoric can carry a stock for years, and that's what Nvidia is doing. I mean, Nvidia has the rhetoric, and they have the, they're backing it up with their sales and all that, but the story matters a lot. I think the software story is getting in a pretty good spot. One other individual name I'll mention that I think did that. You mentioned the IPO thing. Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Our entries on Hood are long gone, because they have really figured out, where they're positioned within crypto, and just their whole platform, and I mean, just they're really, they're plugged in a kind of a healthy way. So that one you could double up from here, but I'm real comfortable with where we bought it. So just happy to see the continuation there.
Yeah, they're definitely on that list to talk about earlier. If I already have some, I need to find something else to trade. So we had
Yeah,
to trade.
yeah, exactly, right.
Trade
Yeah,
DocuQ. Um, yeah, no, it's good because I don't want to say not having direction, but um, the last month it's been like, all right, what else? That's probably a good way to put it. Like, what else we got?
yeah,
And then just kind of get December, and everyone's like, pennies, pennies. Well, all right, pennies are good. Like, I'm the biggest penny trader around. Pennies are great. Like, they'll pay for the month. They're short term. But when you want something that's going to last for the year, or a couple quarters, and 200% in a pretty safe, something you're never going to wake up and knife to. Those sleep easy trades, they got to be a name. So like these software names are exciting to me.
well,
In general.
yeah, absolutely. And I think, and to completely switch gears sector wise, I mean, for me, the opportunity taking shape in staples, in anything with food additives, or just unhealthy all American crap, with the them being kind of under the microscope with food additives, whatever. Legislatively, I don't think a lot's going to come from that, but the FUD opens up so much range on those that's very uncharacteristic of stocks like that. So, Colgate or somebody, you could have some fluoride campaign or some shit, and all of a sudden, Colgate drops 15% in 2 weeks. I mean, I would love that. That would be the best thing ever. So that's a lot of my focus is there, and beverages, especially sugary beverages. I'm all over that. I get more excited about that than software, to be honest.
I don't know what to say, Pete.
Yeah.
Beverages, I think he's seen it already, but
Yeah.
Colgate last 5. Sorry, so that's why
Okay.
that's why I'm laughing. So I'm over here laughing. So 50 SMA, 94 on the year.
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll get there later.
Right.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think we have the same mind. I don't think we have the same mindset. I just think we worked together so long, we're really starting to see things the same way from an attack angle, because it's just happened
Yeah.
over and over and over and over again. Even though our systems are completely different, I think when like when you come up with quantum computing or something like that, and I'm like airlines out of the blue. After the fact, you're like, well, why and how, and then we talk thesis, and then I think it just kind of molds us to looking for that thesis, because man, they're getting a little more refined and quicker. Like our theses are before the moves now, or before
Yeah.
the news. Usually you gotta get a news story, and you go, oh yeah, okay, now I see why, and we're miles ahead of that now. So
Well, you
always
mentioned,
early is a style.
and I think you had a good way to put it with it was with quantum computing specifically, but that buckshot method, where
Yeah,
people just throw all the tickers up with
fucking no
no
clue.
context, like a full send on this sector, where I and Q is like, it's a mature move at this point that it's made. And then these are some of these other ones, QUBT, and like all that, like these ones I found that now they pop 40%. Now people are talking about them. there's just it's a different setup, different flow, different market cap,
Trade.
different partnerships. Like,
Trade.
yeah, it's a completely different trade. Yeah. So that's the precision you get in our room that you don't see
Well, I think
elsewhere.
what you're understating or just walking around completely is, and it's definitely an elephant in the room, is that time also gives you time to look into the companies, kind of see how for
Yeah.
me, check out the level 2, what's normal volume, because that's my thing, right? You can go look at book value, where that guy's just, I searched quantum computing names and here they are. Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know which one's the big float, which one's the low float, which one's in China. I don't know none of that shit. But I got all the names and
Yeah.
I'm 5 weeks late. Sorry, 10
Right.
weeks late.
Right.
Sorry, 15
Yeah.
weeks late. Something like that. Sorry, I'm bad at math. But I mean,
Yeah.
like we already separated INOQ and our Rigetti from the winners of the sector 2 months ago. And now
Yeah.
you got those moves, and now you're getting the broadening or the sympathies, I guess is the best word, of the sector. Well, they're one too. They're quantum. It says quantum computing in the name.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're getting that. So like that's what
Right. Right.
they're catching. They're not catching the actual bulk of that move, or I don't know, or really
And this,
the
yeah.
better trade.
Well, the same thing happened. I kind of learned this from you in a way, but it was, I think, CXAI or something,
Mm-hmm.
some shitty
Yeah,
name
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
That like you found that, and it just, I don't even think it had options, but yeah, I mean that was right after AI, the stock AI, took off, and then all of those and everything, and yeah. So yeah, we've been there, done that, and it went well with quantum computing for sure.
Yeah, and then you just kind of, I mean, it's easier to trade when you're not scrambling and picking. I mean, you had 6 or 7 tickers. Like, pick the right one. And they're all kind of
Yeah.
over. I mean, they're either overextended or they haven't moved. That's
Yeah.
not where I'm trying to go. So, yeah, theses are king. And I said it a few weeks ago, and I'm going to reiterate it because I have to keep it in my head. But just like that bear market we were stuck in, it takes a lot to turn this stuff around. Like we're gonna have an event at this point in time. Something's gonna have to happen for this market to really flatten out. It has a lot of broadening to do. There's a lot of stuff that has still been left behind. So just have to remind myself to fish in the right spot.
Yeah,
It might not
I
be
agree.
fishing for salmon, but we're fishing for some sturgeon or some trout now. So
I mean, and whatever it is, like I don't even think tariffs are it. Tariffs to me are not. That's not much of a sustained move down. That's that's your after hours pre market FUD. Like SPY drop 0.5% because Trump says something about China. But whatever it is, I don't think we know what it is or would be. And so there's no point if you don't even know what it is, how are you going to time it? And that's
No.
my thing about
no.
that's my thing about being bearish. And on that note, before we get to a quick review of some boring stuff, put yourself in the mindset. Like, let's say you play downside instead of upside. What is like the anatomy of a good short setup
Oh,
to
currently?
you? Well, yeah, not even just a specific name or something, but like, what would you look for? Because I see people looking at Palantir and then they say, well, they're trading at 65x sales or something like that.
Well,
And
my opinion is going to come from the assumption of how it works. So, like,
yeah,
I'm not a breakout short trader or anything like that, but I assume you play the news the opposite way when you get really overextended on the news. Like, someone comes out and
right.
says, they got a deal for this, and you do the math, and you're like, all right, well, that's like 30 cents in market cap. If that's all profit, that's like 30
right.
cents, and this just ran $4. That's I mean, the overextended pre-market shit that, play the other direction, that's, I assume, would be the best way to play short.
So Beyond Meat does seaweed nuggets at Long John Silver's and pops 30% on the day.
Yeah, short that.
You're like, yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, or repeat news. 2P, like if you follow a stock, they'll drop, some of these places drop the same fucking news 5 times in a row over like 2 months. So yeah, they just reword it. So those, if that popped too, that would be an easy short, because it's like, this has already came out. Why are we talking about it again? Or
Yeah,
or
and
or like I built a headquarters. We're building a new headquarters. Okay, so you're
yeah,
taking on a liability. I mean, stuff like that. That's what I would look for.
and my motto on shorting stock is, someone will be able to short this, but it won't be you. And I mean that like to myself too. That like so like MSTR right now, real real sexy name to talk about. You're gonna short it down to zero. Um, and meanwhile, yeah, it's gonna fall to 340. It's 400 something 2 days later. To actually short that thing like long term, you can scalp options either direction. That's not shorting. But like a sustained short down, um, is going to cost you like $15,000 to do it responsibly, in my opinion. And it was the same thing with SMCI. Yeah, that SMCI short worked, but people talked about shorting that when it was $400. It climbed to $1,200, down, post split to 18 bucks, and then now it's back at 40 again. Um, but so to actually to time a short like that, you want to time trading Palantir down to $45. It'll probably go down to $45, but it might be from 90. I mean, it might be 4 years from now. So I don't think most of these traders, like, you don't have that kind of bankroll. You don't have the hedging
Yeah.
set up. You don't have the patience. Like, you can't do it. So just zoom out on QQQ, throw up a monthly chart, which direction you think you should trade that thing and everything in it. And I think that's true for most people.
Yeah, I watched the movie. That dude was down forever, and he looked unhappy the whole time. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
so like, yeah, I mean, not for me. And I think you probably need more time than you do on the shares over there in some cases.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah,
really far out of my realm. But you did say earlier, like, timing the turn in the market. It's hard, and even when you're really good, you know, fucking Nostradamus person, it's still gonna be broad. You're still gonna have to say shit like, I don't know when it's gonna be. Sometime from September to January is gonna be the bottom. You gotta say something like that, if you're a wise guy.
yeah, yeah.
But I talked to that guy, and that guy
I,
don't, that guy
I,
doesn't that guy doesn't have that opinion right now. So it's like not even in sight.
I prefer. I've always preferred. I prefer the rotations. I mean, during the,
Sure,
I
sure.
learned to trade. I learned to trade during, a very significant downturn in the market, and I was in oil and I was in steel, and I was just like, you know, where are they putting their money? Because they don't just go full throttle short everything. Um, they, you know, flight to safety. They park their money here. They catch this sector. Whatever. So I've always preferred that, and that's the main thing I'm looking for when tech finally cools off is materials and energy and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I got lucky being a couple years ahead with the penny pumping of the 2020-2021 market, and then luckily I found you at the right time.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It's just the timing on that. If you look back where the market was, we had about a solid year and a half, 2 years of just down to kind of
right. Well,
refine our
I
system.
really
And I think it was easier finding plays back then, to be honest, P. I wish I had our
right, and
system now in that market.
I mean, I was really glad too, because I was looking at things like coin. I was like, God, this thing's just plummeting.
This
I
is
was like,
cheap
hey,
now. Coin's cheap at
I,
350.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I was like, man, it's hitting $200. It's hitting $200. So what do you got here? And you're like, nothing. And I was like, oh,
Fuck out of here.
okay. All right. So that's what the market can do, I guess. And so then we revisited that, like 40, 50 bucks or whatever. But yeah, my lesson there on the large stocks was actually snow. I found the perfect pivot on snow, but I thought the pivot was going to go the other way, and and then it just collapsed from there, and then just kept going. So yeah, I mean that seems like a long time ago, but the thing is, when the market does do that again, I will be able to recognize it, having had that experience. So we'll be fine. I mean, I'm
I don't think I've ever
really
asked you
confident
at
we can
what
handle it.
point. At what point? I mean, maybe you're not even there yet. It takes people a long time. But at what point were you like, "Fuck, those levels kind of do work over there"?
Oh yeah, so that right, that was about the time that we set up our room. I started tinkering a little bit with more with levels and pivots, and not just going kind of flow only. So started to develop my own method for calculating pivots, and then I honestly I don't even really need to do the math on that anymore
Sure,
because of just
sure.
where the
Yeah.
options concentrate, and then just I can just look at it and see,
Well,
okay,
that's no different
this is a
than when I
spot.
call the strikes. Like,
Yeah,
cause I don't call them
right.
off my levels, but I'm like, all right, this is probably what he's seen, or why would he even be talking to me about that? That's my advantage there, is because I know, like, well, if he's bringing it up, it's got to be here, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right,
it's
right.
just so. Yeah,
And
no.
I have never learned level two. I will say that. Like
Sure,
I
sure.
know I know the concept of it and everything. I just don't do that, and like I intentionally don't, because I just don't want to cloud kind of what I do, and I got you here, so
Yeah,
I'll just
yeah.
hit
No,
you
and
up. But
same thing.
um,
I'm not. I don't know the last time I typed in unusual wells. Like,
yeah, and I don't
it's not.
draw diagonal lines, but like when Goose does that, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I see that.
Mhm.
I think for me the chart time, the greatest growth for me has been like when you can recognize those mechanical buys. Um, that's really important, especially honestly to usually to either to stay in or stay out, but not to enter. I never like to enter when I just see that little algorithmic slope going on. But it's a way to creep, kind of creep the stop up. But when you see that in a stock, I mean it's definitely advantageous to. It's like no human being is moving these candles in this way right now. So
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
definitely
Well,
seeing that.
that's exactly the level two for me. Is
Hmm.
like, there's no
Yeah,
human being that's dumping 2 million shares of X, Y, or Z. You know what I mean? 1,000 at a time at the
yeah,
same price over and over. It's just not happening. And that's the stuff that I look for. Is that, defended levels, big money, people that are in control. And yeah,
yeah,
which
yeah.
I think we all do that. It's just from a different angle. Once again, I mean,
And
that's.
yeah, and then last thing on this, like the the way that after these splits, that those same pivots
Mhm.
are just there again. It's like, okay, they just took their algorithm and divide by 10
Yep,
or
yep.
whatever, and it's
Hey,
like we're right back here.
I'll throw this up. These just randomly popped up when they
Yeah,
split, after they split. You tell me.
yeah, yeah.
You tell me.
Right, right.
I mean, you tell me. And I said it when they split, like that's gonna be it for a while, and then we got that pullback to 100.
Yeah,
And you're saying, I mean, if you are any kind of a TA person, that is a 101 resistance when it hit it. Then it checked back, and now it's building support on the other side of it. I mean, you got
yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, 9 weeks. But yeah, I digress. Let's go boring.
yep. So wanted to. I'm gonna start with oil. That like oil is not really reacting to these drops under 70. Like the charts are just it's just quiet right now. So to me, this the longer it consolidates around here, this 66 to 72, something like that, the bigger the move's going to be to the upside. So I think just a lot of patience there is what you need. I'm not really messing with options at all on oil right
That's my
now. I
shares.
just I just buy shares, and I think we've got the names there, a whole whole basket of them, and so I just kind of stick to that.
I
The
said the main one. I said, like, right when we started DCAing, and I think it broke 50 for the first time. People panicked. I was like, I'm not even worried about this till 43. Like,
Yeah.
so plan around that, people. Like, really, that's the one. That's one that you're gonna have to win with time. And if you didn't see that in the Jerry Jones play, because it was kind of similar where it pulled back, people are like, "What are we doing?" It's like, well, why aren't you fucking buying here? This is
Yeah,
gonna,
I know, and I
go.
and I almost want to just put in my notes sometimes. It's like I'm not trying to make money today on this. I mean, some of them, it's like if I did make money today, if it pops 4% today, I'd be a little annoyed because it's not really part of my my plan. Like, I'm trying to build this position,
Mm-hmm.
over time, and so I don't want some news spike of some bullshit in the Middle East to send it up for 4 days when that's not the move I'm looking at. So that's where I am there, and then natural gas is kind of different scenario here. I think
Mm-hmm.
that this move over 3, the way it's holding it, this little pullback here, the retrace and punch through, very plausible that we see that. Still like
I,
copper a
I
lot.
think. Hold
Oh,
on,
yeah,
let me get natural gas
yeah.
because we're gonna be going there, I think, and I want to be early
Mhm.
on it. I think that it's been price fixed with this administration to cover their ass with what they're doing in Ukraine. I mean, it's obviously
Yeah,
that really is about natural gas. That's what the war is about. If you haven't figured that out yet,
yeah,
I think that whatever backdoor deals they have to keep price realistic, we're gonna get back to when the war started with not the 7 to 9 range, but just there's gonna be a supply demand mix that's gonna push this way above this last 2 or 3 year controlled price. So
yes,
we're gonna be
yeah,
4 to 6, maybe 7 at the most. But I mean that's 100% from here, and a lot of the stocks are beat up that we follow. So I think this is the winner next year, P. This sector.
yeah. I said, probably 6 months ago. I said I think 2025. It's the energy trade,
Yeah, you did.
and
Yeah.
uranium, kind of took off early and has the AI angle, and I still like that a lot.
News.
Solar, I throw solar in there. Solar's classified as a tech stock. It's an energy stock, um, and then natural gas, oil, but yeah, yeah, totally with that. Um, Copper really strong, on my end, just the way it's held over 4.
Yep.
What that means for those, aluminum's going to give you the best range, I think, there still, but there are quite a few copper stocks I like.
I got 10% off mine last week. How about you?
Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, I mean, gold and silver. There's just really, to me, there's no stopping these right now, and silver's the better one still.
Okay, you said it. I'm more silver than gold.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
building right now in a lot of those names. 26 was the pivot. We're holding on the 30 psych just from a TA psychological standpoint. The 30s will run out eventually here. If you look, we're just higher, low, higher, low, higher, low on silver prices. Compare it with the gold chart, P. Gold chart's just straight up. So I think silver's lagging a little bit.
yeah. I do,
And more
and the
and more needed. I might be wrong on that, but silver's used it's wider, and then they use more silver than gold. Like gold's fine amounts, right? Like they don't use like
yeah,
a
yeah.
pound of gold or something like that.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen like where people take old computer parts and try to get
It's not a
the
lot,
gold out of it.
not a lot.
Yeah, and it's you take all these noxious chemicals and you end up with this little bit of gold dust at the end of it. So yeah, yeah.
So silver's more used, like they use more weight. So
Yes,
silver,
yeah,
correct.
absolutely.
Just even from
Yeah,
the battery angle, I'm assuming
yeah, yeah,
nickel and silver and stuff like that. All right, perfect. Anything
yeah.
else
And
over
then
there?
uh, no, I mean just
Okay.
Bitcoin. There's still going to be opportunities. I still think you wait for the bad days, and I don't think you don't assume Bitcoin miners are just going to go to the moon. To me, if one of those Bitcoin miners is the same price right now that it was when Bitcoin was $65,000, there's a reason for that, and it's not necessarily a good reason. And so, like, just be cautious. and by cautious, I mean just wait for us to talk about one of them. We're going to in our next session. There's a couple to talk about, but yeah, I mean you just gotta watch yourself. These aren't, you know, your golden entries. There's no purple line on Mara that we can trade off right now. So
Oh, I wanted to get that
but
in.
yeah,
Probably a good spot to get it in. Sorry for cutting you there.
yeah.
Is there any fucking reason on the planet besides having fun to put any dollar amount into Fart Coin or a Hawk Tuah meme coin at all? I mean, is there? I mean, explain this shit to me like I'm just fell out of the sky, because I mean, I get Ethereum, I get Bitcoin, I get the Solana thing a little bit, but when we're buying retardo, come on, what are you?
Yeah.
Is it just what is it just like throwing your dollar in the table and seeing who can pick it up fastest? I mean, is there any future to this? Is there anything
It's
like why?
Well, I mean, for one thing, people, it's survivorship bias, and people see your retardio millionaire posting, so they want to do that. But it's the same motivation as like I'm at the gas station. I've got my my 7-Eleven coffee, and all of a sudden I'm behind the person who's not only wants to buy lottery tickets, but they got the specific system of, they got their little card filled out with all the numbers on it, and I'm like, shit, I'm behind this person. It's it's that it's lotto tickets, and it's also, it's kind of a cultural thing. It's like a meme culture, solidarity, amongst these, like the degenerate.
But they start talking utility and shit like that, and in
Oh,
general,
yeah.
I've heard that for 4 years.
Right.
That's a joke. That's a utility.
Yeah.
Even on like the other coins, is kind of a joke.
On Ripple and stuff.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a joke.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
the only key word that I think work over there is the tethered. I think it's called. It's where it's like linked to a dollar or something, right? Or linked to some commodity.
Oh, right. And the tether thing. I mean, tether fraud is the best crypto FUD that there is, because when you read what they do, it does sound very nefarious, and it probably is. They print tether out of nothing. We do this with the dollar too, but
Yes.
They don't have aircraft carriers, So like, I mean, like the dollar is backed by a lot of defense spending and stuff. But so they print all of this tether and inject it into the Bitcoin market, and that's what sends the price up. Now, in theory, the reason they're doing that is because people are buying the tether to then buy Bitcoin with it, but their accounting practices are not very transparent. They're not publicly traded, so like you just don't. It could just be a house of cards, and could all collapse. So that's kind of the FUD that's out there. But yeah, my take, like I've only really ever bought, like I've bought Bitcoin. I've traded the stupid memes just when I see the narrative. Haven't really been on that. I think that's a little bit of a tired story. Pump Fun and those, like, that's got banned in the UK. That's going to happen everywhere.
I think
but,
Doge was like the climax of that. It's been shit since.
Yeah.
Like it's all been
pump
and dump crap since the Doge SNL day thing.
But yeah, well, yeah, Doge, I mean, yeah, it's at 40 cents, but I mean, the amount of people that bought that at like 60, 70 cents
on the SNL thing, that was the SNL.
There's still massive bags on that.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin to me, I basically did the Bitcoin strategy that Saylor lined out, like myself. Like I started doing that back when Bitcoin was like 22,000 or something, because I read about him. I did this write up on MSTR, and I just said, you know what? I don't really 100% believe in this, but what if Saylor's right? And that did really well for me. And in Bitcoin, what I like about it in simplistic terms is there is a limited supply of it.
Sure.
These little shit coins that print out of thin air and are just unlimited. I mean, obviously that shit's gonna fail.
Pre-sale and all that crap.
Meme coins are this cycle's NFTs. All that shit's just gonna
it's all the same.
go to nothing.
It's all the same. It's just
Yeah.
it's just kind of it takes over on the weekend, so I'm tired of hearing about it.
Yeah, no.
And then
right.
this Hawk 201 with seems like some fraud, and I mean it's just no shit. What'd you expect?
I mean, So if you need some weekend gambling action on your phone, it's meme coins or sports betting, and so that's where, like you know the kind of the jock furus will start doing sports betting, and then
All right,
the other guys will do memes.
one rant before we go to Spy here, sir. But
Yeah,
if you're fucking trading, you're listening to this here, and you're using your weekends to fucking trade more, like we're the wrong people. You need to go make some money before you
yeah,
mess with us, because we're trying to like enjoy the money we make and spend time with our family on the weekends. And if you ain't about
right,
that
right,
life, we're just not even thinking the fucking same. We ain't even the same
yeah,
planet. So, I mean, get your shit together enough to where you can. Your goals in life are to free up some time and free up some options that were financially blocked from you before.
my trading
I
ends
mean,
about it ends about 11 a.m. on Friday. I will catch some
yeah.
some Friday setups in the morning. But Fridays are all about, to me. They're all about like the stocks will just kind of find equilibrium to head into the weekend, and then what I hold through the weekend, it just kind of depends. But the
Yeah, no,
actual trades, I like to close most of them out by then. And
yeah,
then the
yeah.
fun part to me, I prepare for what we're doing now. That's what I do. Get the sector focus ready, get set up for the next week, that kind of thing.
I tried to just hit one or two on Friday and call it good. And then
Yeah,
lately it's been like, just go over what I have. It's going to take 2 hours to go over what I have, kind of, and refresh my plans on that. Move my stop losses up and stuff like that. So yeah, I know I'm with you on that. It's for anyone. I mean, I guess if if you got to go to college and work at the pizza place afterwards, all you have is the weekend. But um, yeah, it's not the way for us. So hey, keep
yeah,
that keep
yeah.
that in mind, because a lot of those people out there, man, they're looking for that quick buck. They're looking for that 400% or $8, and it's just not just
Yeah.
not just not what we do here. All right, spy. 604 is on the top. It actually went $3 above us. I'm kind of proud it was even that close, to be honest. Um, Nothing but high again, and then what's our bottom here? P602. So that's the one we kind of missed by, $6-8.
Yeah.
If you look at the weekly, it almost didn't make the what do you want to call it? It didn't stay inside the bar at all last week. So kind of checked out to a new zone this week.
Um,
I don't know
yeah,
what's
and I
going
think
on
that,
here.
well, the relevant contracts are the same ones I mentioned last week, where I was like, the upside, this is the upside scenario, and I was I was hesitant to think it could get there, but it might at this point. So it's 12/20, 6/10, 6/15, and those two contracts are the first time that calls broke into the top 10 in open interest in probably 6 or 8 months, because they really were it was all about the sold puts and new floor, new floor, new floor. Um, there was no euphoric breakout flow for SPY for a long time. But yeah, I mean, so those contracts staying relevant, those contracts staying on the ask side. Um, that's, I guess, your Santa. They call it a Santa rally out of
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, there's definitely a setup there
All that really
for that.
is. Well, let's get this out the way so we don't have to do this every year. All that really is
Yeah,
your rotation in and out of names by the bigger accounts. They're setting up there. They have to get out of the. This is the month where you basically figure out your taxes. You
yeah,
what you're
yeah.
gonna buy and sell, and you just get that volume that comes in, and it's usually uplifting. And a lot of people do want to get in before the end of the year. They need to put money somewhere before the end of the year, and it just comes out in December. That's what it is.
Well, and yeah, and I talk about this with the Russell specifically. I'll just get on Twitter and scold a bit. I'm like, do you even know what's in it? Do you know what's in it? Like, and so like SPY, that's always a big one too. Like, the stocks that are in this and what they're doing. I mean, that matters. That's the whole math of how this is going. But
if you know how
SPY
I
is more than
if you know how I
your
trade,
zero
the
DTE options every day.
Russell's the best of what I trade.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Those are the good shitty stocks.
Yeah, yeah.
They made it. They had made it.
Well, that was, yeah. I mean, yeah, for like Elf. I mean, that's one of the things I noticed about Elf a long time ago was it was in there.
Mm-hmm.
It just went nuts. Still got my $35 shares on that thing, but
So a lot of numbers this week. Wednesday though,
yeah.
it's all kind of condensed on Wednesday. The monthly CPI for
Hmm.
November, and then your core inflation. I think we get some jobs this week too. So there is some numbers, but the market has kind of shrugged all that shit off.
Yeah, I mean, a bearish trade off numbers has not worked in a really long time, and so I think that there's a way to straddle these, but we don't talk about the VIX for lots of reasons. But the one thing I'll say about it is, with it where as low as it is, you're not getting the moves and premiums on these option contracts. So like I mean, like when I watch QQQ, the when it pops up 0.5%, when the VIX is elevated, that's like a 300% trade. Right now, it's like a 40 or 50% trade. And yeah, 40, 50%, that's great. But again, we're talking about the guys trading $20 contract. They don't want 50% on the $20. What is that? $30. They don't want that. They want 20 to 100 or whatever. And you're not set up for that to happen right now. So you got to trade something else if you're looking for that.
No, I couldn't agree more on that.
Um,
Kind of lost.
how do you pick upside here? I mean,
Yeah, no,
like
kind
I
of
don't
lost
know.
on psych. I mean, that's what I went with.
Yeah.
609.69 on the top for me. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
The ER slowing down a little bit this week. I think you might have some offsides people step in to control that top a little bit. Big money
Yeah.
stuff, but and then downside, I don't think we go back below 600. Not this week. I mean, we're talking short term here, so 601.44. No, it's pulling numbers out of your ass up here. The real number for me
So
right now for trend OP is 597.50,
yeah.
598.20, right in there. That's your daily volume
Hmm.
profiles on the 1 day and the 1 month chart here. So like that's really like as long as we higher low from there, I don't think you're stopping anything that's been going on. Um, and
So
I
I've
don't
got
I don't see that number even hitting this week. So
no, I don't either. My numbers are pretty close to yours. I think my range is a little bit wider. 599.46, 610.10.
oh, yeah, it's not much. But yeah, you through
No,
it. You
no,
got an extra buck on me. But yeah,
yeah,
what was your change on your 610? Sorry, 10,
610.10.
10, Ren
Yeah,
1010.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a strong. There's just no sellers. I watch level 2 a lot, so you can see that. We've had this last maybe 2 weeks, and Thanksgiving week I kind of expected it, where you just have low volume most of the time. I mean, it's not low. It's not like a ghost town low, but it's just 80% normal. Yeah, like Spy 73%. Um, but you get that kind of volume, but then there's 1 day a week where it's like, geez, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
And everything moves 20-25%. Or you have 6 names that are 15% that you've been on, and then you have 2 or 3 that are just mooning. Um, yeah, a lot of that going on. So again, hard to time. Give yourself time. For me and Spy, I think you said all we need to say earlier is you're probably better trading something else. From an ETF standpoint, if you're that ETF Spy trader, you're probably better trading
Yeah.
something else right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, selling needs volume too. Just and I see that with a lot of the earnings aftermath. Getting the sustained move down after open has been tricky on those, and so you don't really see that. And even like LLY, when I trade all the time. Yeah, it'll flush 1% at open. It's not going to go down 6% today. Sorry, guys. Even though it's made a pretty dramatic move from when we were talking about it, a pullback of that magnitude would take news, and the news would bring the volume, and then you would get that. But just rhythm of the chart kind of thing. It's the pullbacks aren't holding up. They just retrace every time.
One thing that I kind of learned early on, and I think it helps with learning how the motion works, because the stock market definitely is goofy foot for all you skateboarders and snowboarders out there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it really is, but when the market's way up, it's harder to find sellers than when the market is just dying to find sellers. You want to know why?
Why is that?
Because you're going to lose 20% of your profits when you fucking sell. It's called taxes.
Right. Yeah.
So somebody that's up 500% really doesn't want to get rid of that. When you're down, you still hoping the thesis works. I'm already down, right? I'm just going to keep this.
Yeah.
Those sellers are hard. Those sellers are harder, are easier to find usually, or because they'll just give up. Where the others guys, they're winning, so they're not going to sell. And so breaking that is going to take a lot. It's a harder trend to break, in my opinion, which is why I like the upside. So perfect.
Yep.
Ready to get to work, P?
Yeah, I'm all set.
All right, perfect. Like and subscribe. Link somewhere, people.